Hi, Year 9. We're going to go ahead into using formulas, section 3J, and this is going to wrap up our equations chapter. So go ahead and set your page up. Go ahead and put your title at the top. And what you're going to notice about today is we're going to reorganize an equation and make different letters the subject of an equation. So for example, when you guys are given y equals 3 plus 7, okay? We call y the subject because it is the letter that is by itself. So what is the subject of the equation? It is the isolated pronumeral. So remember, if you're isolated, you're all by yourself, and it is the isolated pronumeral that winds up being the subject. Another example, if you're given, let's say, area equals breadth by height, okay? That means that A is our subject because A is the one that's isolated, all right? So let's look down at another example where maybe you're asked to solve for D. And let's say that you have AD equals B. We suddenly have 3 letters and no numbers, but we're going to treat the numbers like treat these letters just like as if they were numbers. So for example, if I'm supposed to solve for D, that means I want to isolate D. So that means A is our coefficient. So remember what we do with coefficients. If you have A multiplying by D, there's really little times there. To get rid of it, we're going to divide by that A. So if I divide by A, that means I've gotten rid of that A on the left-hand side, and I isolated my D, and on the right-hand side, I have B over A. So even though I don't get a number as my answer, I have isolated the correct pronumeral, and that is actually going to be my final answer for this equation. If we look at a second one, it says to make X the subject. So that's another way of saying solve for X. So that means I want the X to be completely by itself. So again, this one's going to be very similar. I have A multiplied by X, so to get rid of it, I'm going to divide by A. So that leaves me with X as my subject, and I have 6 divided by A. So in this example, I had one number, but then I had 2 other letters. And again, I just treat those letters just like numbers. Taking a look at our last example, it says to make the red pronumeral the subject. So that means the red letter is the one I'm going to leave by itself. So if I look at this, that means I have to get rid of this 5A term, and I have to get rid of the negative sign that's in front of the B. So my first step is going to be to get rid of the term that's furthest away from the B, and that's the 5A term. 5A is positive right now, so in order for me to get rid of it, I have to subtract 5A. If I do that, that means I've gotten rid of that 5A, so I just have negative B. I'm going to keep it red, because the red one is the one I'm going to get by itself. But now on my right-hand side, I'm supposed to say C minus 5A. But those are not like terms, so I'm going to have to write them separately. Lastly, I need to do something with this negative sign. So to get rid of a negative coefficient, remember there's really a negative 1 in front of the B. So to get rid of it, I'm going to divide by that negative 1. So if I do that, I don't have the negative anymore, and I just have the B left over, which is what I wanted by itself, so that's good. But now on the right-hand side, I have to divide everything by a negative 1. If I divide by a negative 1, all that means is that all my signs change. So my C is now negative, and my 5A is now positive. Again, it doesn't look like a nice, neat number as my answer, but when you have more than one letter or pronumeral in an equation, I'm not going to end up with a nice, neat answer. So I am going to leave my answer with several pronumerals in it. The important part is that the one that we're told to find by itself or to isolate is actually isolated. All right, have a good night, guys. I'll see you in class tomorrow.